Coming to you from a studio somewhere out there. It's Enough Already Radio with Fingers Malloy and Tracy O'Connor.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is another Enough Already podcast. I'm Fingers Malloy. Tracy L. Connors is here as well. Hello, Tracy.
Hello, Fingers.
How are you?
I'm fine, just fine.
So I'm going on vacation next week. I got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the news in a little bit. Whatever news we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about tampons and all sorts of stuff. Hate crimes. Ellen. It's a thing. But, so I'm going to the Mississippi for my vacation.
Okay.
And also the panhandle of Florida. It's a whole thing. Next week. And I almost forwarded this article to you. We talked about it on Snark. Sea lice is everywhere, Tracy.
Ugh.
On the Florida panhandle. The beaches. Sea lice.
Okay.
One more thing you have to worry about when you go out in the ocean. Either being attacked by a shark or a barracuda. I didn't even know about sea lice.
And now you're terrified.
One more reason to... here's the deal. There's really no good place you can go swimming unless you have your own private pool that you know no one is peeing in. Because public pools are toilets.
Yep.
Oceans are, it's a giant toilet for sea creatures. And now you have to worry about lice. Sea lice.
Were you planning on going in the ocean?
No, but don't let that interrupt my rant.
Sorry, continue.
Sea lice. There, I'm done. Were you aware of sea lice?
No.
I was seeing pictures. You should Google pictures of victims of sea lice. It looks like they have like ringworm on their backs and stuff. Crazy. Yeah. They break out in like back acne and acne back and backney. Yes, exactly. And you know how you get rid of it?
No. Fire?
Well, I saw a YouTube video. Apparently, you get into a bathtub filled with cereal.
Shut up.
No, I saw it on YouTube.
Okay.
Some lady is in the bathtub with cereal.
Oh, one that met Obama?
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, I think
thought she was trying to get rid of sea lice.
No, she met with Obama. Don't you remember everybody going nuts?
Oh, that's right. They really should put titles on those emails or those videos. And the emails, too, for that matter. Damn sea lice. So, there's that. Also, I'm very excited. I'm launching a new podcast on Friday, July 6th.
Oh?
I told you about this, didn't I?
I'm pretending not to know so you can fill me in.
I know, but that was, an extra surprised tone in your voice.
It's called acting.
Oh, look at you. All those years in Hollywood.
No.
See, that too. No. It's called The Great Indoors, Tracy.
Tell me more.
I'm sick of politics.
Uh-huh.
And this is the most political podcast I've really ever done. I mean, back in the old days at FTR Radio and the Snark Factor, we would have, like, guests on. I've interviewed the Vice President of the United States, Tracy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We've had politicians on. We used to talk to people from think tanks. And the whole time, I'm thinking, okay, I guess this is good for someone. I'm not really all that interested in it. But, hey, right, let's delve into tax policy for a minute, shall we? Mm-hmm. So I was never into that stuff, but I was kind of into it. And I really enjoy doing this show. And I get to interact with you, my pal. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, we had our 6-year friendiversary on Facebook the other day. There was a video. I saw it.
Wow, how exciting.
Right?
I didn't see it.
I know you're not on Facebook anymore. But but I enjoy doing this show because I do enjoy talking a little bit about politics, but it's getting to the point where I'm just bored with everything. But you know what I'm not bored with? Casinos, restaurants, bars, and booze. So that's what the Great Indoors, that's what that podcast is all about. And it's going to debut July 6th.
Excellent.
So you'll be able to find that on iTunes. I still haven't picked a platform for me to, I don't know if it's going to be SoundCloud or whatever, but there will be an Android-based platform for people to listen to the show. But you can find it on Facebook right now, facebook.com/Great Indoors Radio.
Wow.
So that'll be out this Friday. I've already got 2 guests that have confirmed. I don't want to mention their names until the interviews
they actually
are
get
done.
them recorded.
Yeah. But one is a YouTuber who runs one of these slot machine channels that I told you about.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. So see, I knew you'd be excited.
I can't wait to not listen.
Thank you so much. What a ringing endorsement. $750 a pull he does on these slot machines.
That's just stupid.
And then another person that's on, he writes a yearly guide to casino gambling. So he'll probably be on as well. But I don't have these interviews in the can yet, so I don't want to say anything. I know you're going to be excited. I'll make sure to let you know.
Yeah, can I get rough cuts ahead of time?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
So there's that. Thank you for the ringing endorsement once again, by the way.
Sure thing. I'm your biggest fan, you know.
Clearly. Be a shame if there was any sea lice down in Jersey Shore. Just saying.
Right. Well, should we explain our absence from last week?
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Well, you have a much more interesting story than I do.
I guess I do. So I was off in the wonderful land of Oregon, where I've spent some time living out there over the years. And I went back for a family wedding, which just happened to take place on a pot farm.
Wow, nice.
Yes. And I think I might have mentioned this before, but my family out there, they own a little pot business. Emerald Triangle Farms. If anybody lives in Oregon, you can find their stuff at dispensaries near you. And if they don't have it, you can request it.
How are they not a sponsor of enough already?
Well, it only makes sense in Oregon.
Yeah.
Right now, the federal laws prohibit you from selling, even though those states are contiguous. Washington is legal, Oregon is legal, California is legal. You're not allowed to cross the state lines. Well, I know. It's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Well, I have read pieces talking about how police just outside of the border of Colorado just sit there.
Sure.
On the highway, hoping to pull someone over.
Well, it's all about the money.
Yeah, and then steal their cars.
Yeah, and anything they have on them.
Right. Thank you, civil asset forfeiture. Okay, go ahead.
It's absurd. It's absurd. But it was quite an interesting experience to go to a dispensary for the first time.
Did you take the tour? Is it a guided tour?
Of a dispensary? I took the guided tour of my
farm.
Cousin's farm.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt. Tell me about your experience at a dispensary, because I had a lovely experience in Denver.
Yeah, I had one. I had a quite lovely experience. That everyone there was quite kind and knowledgeable, although I should have gotten a sterner warning about something.
Uh-oh.
So I purchased a cartridge that goes on to an e-cig because vaping is my preferred method.
Yes.
For everything. So I had quite a little discussion with the gentleman behind the counter. I said, look, I already have an e-cig battery. Most e-cig batteries have what's called a 510 thread, which is basically just, the screw size. Do you think that would fit on mine? Well, let's see. So he opens it up, puts it on. Yeah, it fits. Great. So normally they give you a battery, which they did give me a battery. And there was a man and a woman working there. And the woman was like, well, it looks like it works because we tried it. It would ignition, I guess. And
Ignite?
she's like, yeah, well, it doesn't really ignite. That's
No?
the thing. There's
Spark?
no fire.
Spark?
No, it just heats. It's just a coil that heats up.
Okay.
So she's like, it might be hotter because the battery is way larger. So it might heat up a lot more than it would with the smaller battery. And I was like, I'll just try it. So I'm such a know-it-all idiot that I don't bother to read
Oh, no.
the label of what he gave me.
Uh-huh.
So I find out after the fact. I hook it to my big battery, take a little puff. And then I'm like, oh, my God, that's incredibly strong. It's 98% THC. And the cartridge apparently was entirely full when I put it on. And just my one little puff took about, I don't know, a third of the liquid. Yes.
Was this before the wedding, by the way?
Yes. So this is at, I don't know, 11:30 in the morning. The wedding was at 4. We had to leave at 2:30 to get there.
Oh, my God.
So it's like, I think I'm going to die. But I do have some experience with this. So I was like, no, you're not. You're really not going to die. You just have to wait this bitch out. It should only be like an hour. So no, it was more like 2.5, 3.
Oh.
I did manage to make it to the wedding. I couldn't wear the dress that I wanted to wear because when I put it on, I'm like, this is suffocating me. I can't do it. And then I couldn't unzip it, and it's just this gigantic mess.
Were you able to tell someone what was going on, or did you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't let anyone know what just happened?
Oh, no, I told everybody after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, but at the time.
Well, there's no point in bringing anybody else in because then they're just going to be like, oh my God, and they could panic, and then that's going to make you panic. But
try to take you to the ER and
right. No, nobody would have done that. No. So, no, I kept it to myself, and I just sat and had all of the thoughts that one can possibly have.
The paranoia. Yeah.
No, it wasn't paranoia.
No,
not at all. No, once I calmed myself down, I'm pretty good about bringing my heart rate down naturally.
Oh, wow.
So I did that. And then I was listening to Scott Adams' podcast, which made me launch off into this whole thing and thinking, I wonder if Trump listens to these. Because, Scott almost every day gives basically advice about how to win the persuasion war. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if anybody around him is listening to this stuff and putting it into practice, then Scott Adams is de facto the president of the United States from his living room in California.
Does he talk about casino gaming in his podcast?
No, but I bet you he would if you asked him. What does he think about it?
Okay.
But yeah, so he got me through that.
Scott Adams, miracle worker. He could talk you down from a high without even knowing it on his podcast.
It just distracted me. It just totally distracted me. And then I did make it to the wedding. But I was so worried about indulging again that when they came around with the plate of joints that had been pre-rolled for the guests, grown by my one cousin, rolled by my other cousin, I had to say no thank you.
Oh, were they insulted that you turned down?
No, I told them what happened and they just cracked up. They're like, oh, you're such an amateur. I'm like, yeah, well, I know. I don't live here. And I should have just waited until I got to the farm where I know everything's under control. Mm-hmm. And you can tell me which one to try and which one not to. And so
now, you said it was 98%?
Yeah, the liquid that I had was 98%.
What is generally, what are you looking at? What optimally, what should the percentage be in that liquid? For us, for
less than 98%.
The peeps that aren't in the know. But like 30%, 25%.
That's more acceptable, yeah. But also don't put it on a gigantic battery. That's what really screwed me. If I had just put it on the little battery that they gave me, I wouldn't have taken a third of the damn liquid. Like it's supposed to be, like 100 puffs or something.
Yeah.
Well, if I had done it on my battery, it would have been 3.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so I do think that was part of the problem.
So is that the only thing that you bought at the dispensary was...
I got some candies.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And there was some liquid stuff that looked like a 5-hour energy shot. Tried a little bit of that.
I'm going to be in Denver in September.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to go back to my favorite boutique. That was the name. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a marijuana boutique.
Uh-huh.
Right by the hotel. So I'm going to go back there. Last time I was there, I got the preloaded e-cig.
Right.
Like, there was no taking the cartridge off and attaching it to my battery. None of that. It was just, here you go. It's preloaded. Toss it when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it had 100 to 120 puffs, I think they said. I can't remember. It was $40.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think was bad.
No.
But, I mean, what I went in there, it's like going to the dentist office.
Oh?
You walk in and there's a waiting room and there's a woman behind a window that slides it open and says, "Can I help you?"
Oh, no. The one that I went to was nothing like this. It was this gorgeous old house that had been, converted over to a storefront. You just walked in, walk right up to the counter.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it must. I don't know if it has anything to do with the law being different in Oregon than Denver. Or maybe it was just this, or Colorado. Maybe it's just this particular shop I went to. But you had a whole thing where I had to, I told the woman I was from out of town and this was my first time. And she's like, "Oh," and they needed my driver's license, which freaked me out a little bit. I was like, okay. I mean, it's one thing just to look at it, but she took it. And then she said I could walk through the magic door.
Yeah.
And then my salesperson would greet me on the other side of the door with my driver's license.
Interesting.
Which was a little strange.
Yeah.
And then once you walk in, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff that has
pot in it. Yeah.
Pot in it. I mean, ridiculous stuff. Okay, I got candies and the energy drink kind of stuff. I mean, it's obviously not an energy drink, but
no.
But like sex lube.
Oh.
It's like, really? I mean, you really have to be dedicated to the pot lifestyle. Incorporate it into lube. I'm like, really? But I mean, for me, it was so magical walking in because my salesperson was the stereotype I was hoping for. It was like 40 or 50 piercings. He's like, "Oh, dude, man, you gotta try this over here, man." And then, "Oh, look at that dude, and man, the dude." I was like, "This is awesome." Oh
man.
Yeah. So I envy you for being able to go to a wedding where the appetizer tray was pre-rolled joints. It's funny.
It was actually the post-dinner pre-dessert, which makes a lot of sense.
It was a pot sorbet.
Yes, if you want to. It was a palate cleanser.
Yes. Well, yeah, your weekend was pretty awesome. I had a good weekend too. I went to play golf with my dad, who's 80, and his two buddies. One is 75 and one is 77. And holy shit. We went golfing, and by 11 a.m., the 77-year-old was buying a 12-pack for everybody.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we left the golf course after it was over, went to a brewery. Then we went to my hometown has a distillery, which is really cool. It's called Old Town Distillery in Saginaw, Michigan, and had their whiskey. I can't keep up with these guys. The old men, it's amazing. It's one right after another. Oh, another round. And here's the weird thing, too, that's so generational about drinking with old people, or at least this old crowd. Because, I don't know about you, but I don't really carry cash on me ever.
Oh, I always carry cash.
Oh, do you? Do you pay with cash? That's what you pay with?
No. Oh. Not normally, but sometimes there's places that only take cash, like the dispensary.
Yes. Well,
and like farmers markets and stuff like that.
That's true.
And I like leaving cash tips for.
Oh, servers. You know what? That's a good idea. Plane going by. So what these old men do is will sit at the bar and they'll slap their cash down right by their drink.
Mm-hmm.
And they take turns buying, and here, and they pay per round. They don't run a tab.
No.
It's like, I got this round, and they go into the little mound of cash and they pay for the round. And then when I pull my card out, they think that I'm putting it on a charge plate. It's my debit card.
It's your Diners Club.
Yes. It's like, don't put it on your charge plate. No, we'll buy. I got this one. You don't have cash? No, I don't carry cash, and it's not a charge plate. Well, it's got MasterCard on it. Well, no, it's a debit card. It's okay. Let me run a tab and let me get this round. And they freak out thinking I'm going to be charged 19% interest on the
right.
round. The whole thing's bizarre. But I got back to my dad's house, and I within 15 minutes I was out on the recliner. I don't know how these guys do it.
You do it every day.
Yeah, years and years of experience. You're right. It's every day.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're retired and you've got a fun gang of drinking buddies, it's like every day. They have different bars. It's like, on Monday we go here, Tuesday we go here. They don't hit it as hard as we did, from golfing. They just go and they have one or two, hang out with their pals, and then they go home. But they have a whole rotation, different bars, and it's routine. You have to be there at a certain time on a certain day at that bar, and then you go to the next bar, and you have your little pile of cash. You buy drinks and you throw it out. It's crazy. So, but that was a cool weekend, but not nearly as cool as going to a wedding on a pot farm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So before we get into the news, I do want to ask you, because I kind of interrupted you. So you just walked into the dispensary and it was like an old home and there was a counter. I mean, what?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you walked in the front door and there was kind of like a sitting room.
Mm-hmm.
It was nicely decorated where you could buy T-shirts and stuff. And then off to the right was just a counter with all of the things. I didn't see lubes.
You didn't. Oh, you weren't looking. You weren't looking. Apparently,
no. It wasn't a big. I mean, the whole counter was probably like 5 or 6 feet long, so it wasn't this huge deal. Well, we're also in a little town, where my family lives. It's this charming little town, Ashland, Oregon, that has a Shakespeare Festival that's been running since 1931.
Continuously?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
I think it starts in March and runs through October every year.
Wow.
And they have a bunch of theaters, including like an open air Elizabethan style theater that's really beautiful. But the population is only like 25 or 26,000 people. Mm-hmm. So they don't really need some huge store because they have, 5 or 6 of them in town. So this is just a little house. It was right next door to my hotel.
Was the hotel pot friendly?
Well, that was the thing. I was talking about it with my family. I'm like, it's really strange because when I was in Maine last year, and Maine has gone legal, but there's some whole fighting about actually implementing it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they have stores up and running yet. But in my hotel room, there was a sign that said no smoking, and they had the circle with the slash and a cigarette, and then the circle with the slash and a pot leaf. Mm-hmm. But there was nothing like that at my hotel. So I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a really strange industry when they're trying to make pot tourism a thing. Like Denver, I keep saying Denver because that's where I went when I went to Colorado. But Colorado, it's like, pot tourism's a big thing. But you're not supposed to be able to smoke it in public. Yeah. Right. So come to Denver, come to Colorado for pot, but make sure that you know someone where you can smoke it in their homes because you can't smoke it anywhere. It's very strange. At some point, it's got to happen within the next 15 years where, they're going to have smoking rooms, smoking bars, private clubs that you can, wink, wink, become a member for
Right.
$3, and then you walk through the door, and then you can smoke whatever you want to smoke. But that's what makes the e-cig so convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Is you could just be walking on a sidewalk, no one around, just pull out the e-cig, take a puff, keep walking.
Yep.
The thing is, I don't do this at home.
Right.
I don't. It's illegal here in Indiana, and I am not looking around to find a dealer. I'm not in college, so I back in college I would smoke here and there, but I really don't do it at home. But hell, when you're somewhere where it's legal,
Like, what the heck?
yeah.
Yeah, I know that there's some movement in Oregon to deal with what you're talking about and have places where you can go and actually do it, which makes a hell of a lot of sense. It's
Yeah.
like Amsterdam is the perfect model. You just have a coffee shop / dispensary. You go in, they have these giant counters, they have menus. They'll bring a bong to your table.
Nice.
And you just drink your little coffee, or I was really into the hot chocolate there for some reason.
Mm.
You just sit and relax, and then you go along your merry way and try not to get hit by bicycles, because that city is so full of bicycles, it's ridiculous.
Now, I'm no expert, and I'm not claiming that you are either, but
Okay.
I'm just curious if you've ever had an edible of any kind. You said you had some candies.
Mm-hmm.
How does that differ from smoking?
Well, I've never really had good results with them, and I talked to the people at the dispensary about it. I'm like, I don't really think that they work on me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, some people it doesn't work. But my understanding is if it does work, it's a completely different kind of experience.
Mm.
And it lasts a hell of a lot longer.
Really?
Yeah. But you also get into, I've had friends that have done it and they've had the experience like I did, where it's just like, oh my God, I want this to stop. I want this to stop. I want this to stop. And I think that's what happened to, I believe it was Maureen Dowd that went to Colorado to write a piece about it
Yeah.
for the New York Times. And the thing is with those, you have to be careful about the dosage.
Didn't she eat a whole brownie? Just like
Yeah, I believe so.
inhaled the whole damn thing.
And what I had got was chocolates that were individual servings.
Mm.
So you can't screw that up. It's very clear. It's like, have one of them, and this is how many milligrams and whatever. But what I think she did was buy a chocolate bar or something like that was multiple servings, but didn't read the fine print to note, hey, don't eat this whole thing. And it says really big on the ones that I got, oh, it can take 45 minutes to work, 45 minutes to 2 hours. Because I believe that's what's the problem. That's where the problem comes in. And when I
yeah.
told people that I know that have done it and have, basically OD'd, then you're not going to die or anything. You think you're going to,
Yeah.
but you're not. But yeah, they would have some and then wait a little while and become impatient and be like, this isn't working. So they'd have more, and that's where you get into trouble.
Wow.
So.
But it's just amazing the stuff that you could buy now. I mean, you said chocolate, hard candy, like you're sucking on a Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, the liquids. One time I was in California, I tried a Jolly Rancher.
And it did nothing.
Not particularly, no. No.
See,
I'll keep trying.
You have to be really patient. And that's not in a lot of people. Patience.
No, but it's also about how your body processes it. So I guess my body doesn't want to process THC that way. But it was wild to see how many farms there are there. It's just like we're driving and my uncle's like, that's a pot farm, that's a pot farm, that's a pot farm, that's a pot farm.
Is there an odor?
It depends. At my cousin's there was. But you're talking like indoor grow, which is what he has, versus an outdoor. So I feel like the indoor kind of amplifies the stink. But there's a giant glut now of pot. There's too much. They've oversaturated the market.
That's a good thing. I mean, not for your family, but...
Right. Well, bringing down the price. Well, and they're also going for like high-end, really quality strains.
Oh, they're not selling dirt weed?
No. No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's really funny, too, is if you go on one of these dispensaries websites and see all the different kinds of weed you could buy. It's like, this is such and such. I don't know the names. Like, I when you're in college, you just try to score a bag. And it's like, there's all these different varieties of weed.
Yeah. Well, and they all have to be tested for THC content, and that's all put on everything. And so it's very involved. You got to send it out to the lab. You do.
I know. I get it. Yeah.
And then there's some weird regime about how you're allowed to sell to the dispensaries. Like, you can't just walk in and be like, hey, here's my pot. You want to try it and buy it? No. There's
Is there
a
some
list
sort of government middleman? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The
Of course.
dispensaries have to go through lists. So, like, there's ways to get around that. Like, you just go in and introduce yourself and be like, oh, by the way, if you'd ever like to sample our stuff, we'd be happy to do that. Can you please go on that website and request an appointment with us?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not like a pharmaceutical rep.
No. No, and I think in most of the states, it's being run by the Liquor Control Board.
Of course.
So absurd. And I believe it took them, my family, like over a year to get the approval.
Ugh.
Even though they put in the paperwork the day it went.
See, I would be
effect.
worried. Here's the thing, too. It's really, I would think, because how long has it been legal in Oregon?
I think it became legal in 2016, I want to say.
So I got to believe the price has gone down since 2016, unless the feds have, or not the feds, the state has really upped the taxes on stuff.
Like, the little tank that I bought was on sale.
Oh, you can have sales.
Yeah, it was $28. And I was like, okay, how much do I owe you for tax? And they're like, that includes the tax.
Nice.
I was like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad. And the candies I bought were $3 a piece.
Oh, wow.
Like, this isn't outrageous.
No. Where was I going with that? Boy, oh boy. When you get older, the mind rots. Yeah, I have no idea. Wow, this is good radio.
It's excellent. It's excellent. Well, and the other funny thing that they make you do to comply with the law is you have to have cameras all over.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that a grow house, they have the lights off half the time pretty much.
Oh, I know where I was going with that.
Yes.
I know it's getting cheaper, but I would still be concerned that someone was going to trespass and take some of my pot that I'm growing.
Oh, you've got the cameras running all day.
Well, okay. But
and the state is insanely serious about bookkeeping. So it's what's called seed to sale goes on. Uh-huh. So and which is funny because nobody uses seeds really anymore. It's all cloned plants.
Okay.
So they'll take a clipping off of one once you get your strain perfected fingers.
Okay.
And you've got it tested and all this stuff. You take clippings off of one plant and then you grow new plants with that.
Wow.
So there is no seed, but every single plant has to be barcoded. And then you track that plant as it grows. You track how much weight came off of it. And then all of that gets labeled with that same barcode. So they know exactly where all of it is at all times.
But seed to sale just sort of rolls off the tongue.
Sure. Yeah. So, clone to sale or clipping to sale. Not so much. No. We like alliteration.
Have zazz. Zing.
No.
Wow. Well, that's quite a weekend.
Yep.
But one drag and he took the third.
It took me out. I've learned a valuable lesson.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Yes.
Well, we've got about 25 minutes left. What do you want to talk about?
Well, there's so much going on.
That's true. The freak out over Justice Kennedy announcing his retirement. Oh my gosh! If you were on Twitter, you would have thought The sweet meteor of death was about ready to strike.
I know. I was thinking we need to bring back the leftist freak out alert system or whatever we called that thing.
Yeah.
We need to add a new level to it.
Oh, so that was priceless watching that.
Well, it was great that followed all of those, decisions that kind of went the way that we would like them to go.
Yeah.
The Janus decision is huge. That's the union, the public sector unions can no longer force people to pay the dues to them.
That's extraordinary. And I've got family members who are, and I hate to say this because, I don't like the agency, and I know you don't. They work for the TSA.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pretty much paying union dues to a union that kind of doesn't exist. I mean, from what I understand, there's like next to no union representation, but they're being forced to pay union dues, or were.
Mm-hmm.
And now with this decision, I'm assuming they'll be able to opt out if they want to.
Yeah. Well, and this applies to teachers,
mm-hmm.
which, not all of them are radical lefties. So this is going to put a huge dent in the Democrat fundraising. So I had a piece from themarketswork.com
mm-hmm.
where he outlined how much money the unions have been giving. The SEIU is going to be affected by this.
Mm.
And they endorsed Hillary Clinton and have donated over $220 million to the Democrats.
Wow.
Yeah, they spent $70 million in 2012. In the end, let's see, teachers. The National Education Association donated $93 million to Democrat causes. They spent $23.7 million in 2016, which is just crazy. United Food and Commercial Workers, $63 million to Democrats. And then $1.7 billion was the total that was donated by unions to the DNC in 2016. And I don't know if that includes private sector unions as well, but this is going to really suck for them.
Wow.
I know.
It would be interesting to see, how much money the NRA contributed compared to all that.
Oh, it's a fraction.
It's just unbelievable. Oh, let's see.
I got it. It's slowly pulling up here.
This is a graphic from Open Secrets.
Yeah.
The National Rifle Association allocated 96% of its total 2016 spending, at least $50 million, to the presidential race and 6 Senate contests.
There you go.
So 96% of the money equaled $50 million. How much did you say the union contributions were in the?
The total was $1.7 billion. Yes.
Okay.
But the NRA is buying off politicians.
Right.
Well, I thought too. This is from the ruling itself. So it says that this is. I don't know who's writing this. This is part of the. What do we call it? The majority opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The state's extraction of agency fees, which is what they've always called this stuff, from non-consenting public sector unions violates the First Amendment. Forcing free and independent individuals to endorse ideas they find objectionable raises serious First Amendment concerns that includes compelling a person to subsidize the speech of other private speakers. So I read this, and I think, and they always talk about this in the case of Citizens United as well, that money equals speech.
Right.
And so if money equals speech, according to the Supreme Court, then aren't my taxes speech? And isn't extracting taxes from me a violation of my First Amendment?
Oh, that's different.
Is it?
Yeah, when the mob does it, with the government.
Oh, okay. That's the difference.
Exactly.
So for some reason, it doesn't apply to them. They're allowed to stifle our First Amendment, even though the entire reason for the First Amendment is to stop government. from doing things to us. But I don't have the balls to be the one that goes and doesn't pay taxes and makes that claim. So maybe if somebody else wants to take that up, I'll contribute to your legal fund.
Any volunteers? Contact us at Scam Pack.
Yes.
By the way, Scam Pack, the domain automatically renewed on me while I wasn't
Excellent.
paying attention. So
We're going to have to start building that out.
we're gonna have to start making the videos.
Sure.
So
Well,
I want a beach house.
It's an open. Well, speaking of the chick that won the New York race, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
The new media darling.
Yeah, the new beach house babe.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here. I thought, you know what, Fingers, maybe we should start Scam Pack, raise money. You and I run as socialists. I mean, it's quite easy, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to push you too hard on things. Like, what does it mean? And I don't remember if her definition is in this article that I have pulled up or not. The Intercept has a piece about her. There's an easy answer to why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez won. Socialism. Okay. But she talks about, equity and diversity and all this stuff and everybody, dignity. Could you have more empty words that we're stringing together here?
Where's the dignity in taking a shit and not being able to flush your toilet paper down the toilet?
We haven't gotten there here yet.
Well, that's because the wrong
goal.
people are doing it down there in Venezuela.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
She's adorable.
she is. And hey, you know what? She's effective as hell. And I give her credit for beating, the fourth in line, I believe he was, Crowley.
Yeah.
He thought he was sitting pretty and didn't have to do anything. And he was wrong. So here we go.
It's really what happened to Eric Cantor.
Yes.
You just assume that you'll just, fly through the primary, no problem. And then sometimes when you assume that, you get bitten in the ass.
Right. So apparently she had given an interview to Vogue. And the way that the Intercept says this is that interview was conducted by socialist reporter Bridget Reed. Who knew that such things existed, working for Vogue? Yeah, I work at this snooty, affluent, tainted organization called Vogue. But I'm a socialist. So she makes a critique of our current system, which is so unheard of in the mainstream press that it reads like heresy. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
When we talk about the word socialism, I think what it really means is just democratic participation in our economic dignity and our economic, social, and racial dignity. And it's about direct representation and people actually having power and a stake over their economic and social wellness at the end of the day. To me, what socialism means is to guarantee a basic level of dignity. That's what it means? Huh.
That sounds like the most focus group statement and it's just all garbage.
Right. It means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
To find, like you said, to find dignity. How dignified do you feel when you can't flush your toilet paper? How dignified do you feel standing in line for food? How dignified do you feel? I saw an article yesterday that a cup of coffee in Venezuela now costs 1 million bolívares, which is the equivalent of $10. But can you imagine what that looks like if you're paying cash? It's like the wheelbarrows of cash that they talk about in the Weimar Republic. I mean, it's just insane. But that's dignified. Dignity for everybody. But they love to use these amorphous terms.
Well, I mean, right there, that's right out of the Obama playbook.
You think?
oh, I'm going to say something, and it's 2 paragraphs worth of words, and I didn't say anything.
Right.
But boy, I used lofty, soaring rhetoric, and people think, oh, what a great speaker. Yes, it gives me hope. Oh,
No,
what did that person just say? What?
Nothing. All we know is that she wants us to have dignity. And who's going to argue with that?
Right. Oh, you're against dignity, Tracy?
Yes, I am. I find it objectionable. And I don't think there's anything dignified about stealing money from other people.
No.
No, it's gross. And then she talks about that apparently on election night, there's nothing radical about moral clarity in 2018. So your moral clarity is that poor people are poor because rich people are rich. So therefore we must steal from rich people and give it to the poor people. That seems moral.
Well,
right?
It's moral, Tracy, because the rich people got rich by stealing. And getting their money earning their money off the backs of the poor.
Absolutely.
Yada,
They're exploiting
yada.
people.
Right.
And somewhere else I read about her, she had been, I think, a bartender at some point. And she's only 28, so she'll be the youngest woman. She's basically guaranteed to win her race at this point. She'll be the youngest woman ever elected to the House of Representatives.
She'll be in Congress for life if she wants to.
Oh, yeah, that's what I kept thinking. I was like, we're seeing the incarnation of Bernie Sanders II.
Yeah.
And she'll have a beach house by the time she's 32, maybe? Out in the Hamptons. It's not going to be on some Vermont lakeside like old Bernie, but... Oh, crap. Oh, so she said that she asked her fellow coworkers at the bar or restaurant where she was working if any of them had health insurance. Mind you, this is, Obamacare time period where we're all supposed to have it.
They don't have They don't have a bronze plan? Even?
Nobody had it.
Wow.
This is so strange. I'm thinking, my God, like how are you confronted with this reality where everybody was compelled to have something by force of law under penalty if you don't, and yet they still don't have it, and you think your ideas are going to work out? Because that involves a hell of a lot of compulsion and a lot of state exercises. And she's off, let's abolish ICE.
Yeah.
Okay. How are we going to enforce your bullshit, lady, if we're getting rid of all the enforcement arms? This doesn't make any sense.
Well, they don't want any enforcement arm. They just want people to waltz right in.
No, but what I'm saying is, on the one hand, they want that going on, but on the other hand, they're going to need enforcement to fulfill all their bullshit promises of free everything, because you've got to extract that money somehow, which involves the use of force.
It's okay for the IRS to enforce shit, but we don't want immigration laws enforced.
Yeah, it's only about, we're cool with stealing money.
Yeah, it's cherry picking enforcement on the things that they want enforced.
Yep. Well, this is how they sum up this Intercept article. And by the way, they're totally for her.
Of course.
So, yes. Although I do think Greenwald is one of the few that's intellectually honest and will call out abuses regardless of who's in charge. But this is not him writing this. So they say, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Ocasio-Cortez, I guess. But at best, here we go. At the end of the day, I'm a candidate that doesn't take corporate money, that champions Medicare for all, a federal jobs guarantee, the abolishment of ICE, and a Green New Deal. But I approached those issues with the lenses of the community that I live in. And that's not as easy as to say as identity politics. So I don't really understand what that means either. I approach it with the lens of the community that I live in.
Wow.
Do those things look different through those lenses?
I guess so. I'm really entertained with this whole new talking point, and I really, the first one that dipped her toe into this that I saw was Cynthia Nixon. How we need to abolish ICE, and now Kristen Gillibrand,
of course,
has said it. In which, it's red tofu to the base. Right. of the progressive Democratic Party. But if you go out in Trump country, and this isn't just people who support Trump, these are the old school Reagan Democrats who didn't all jump on the Trump train, but a lot of them did. People may have been disgusted with what they saw on the border with the families being separated and stuff like, which was going on, way back in the Bush administration. But at the end of the day, I think I just saw a poll on Twitter. I don't know if CBS ran the poll. 3 out of 4 Americans still want immigration laws enforced. Mm-hmm. And then now you're having Democrats running out saying they want ICE abolished. Run on that platform.
Yeah. See
how that works for you.
I think we're going to see them snatch victory or snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, however that goes. I think they're setting themselves up to get crushed. And they don't see it coming. I
think so too. It's funny when situations like this happen in reverse. Mm-hmm. The think pieces come out. Will Republicans overplay their hands?
Right.
You never see this the other way around. And there was momentum for Democrats on the left with this whole border issue with the families being separated. And now it goes from, oh my gosh, that's terrible, we shouldn't be doing that, to eliminate ICE.
Right. Well, what happened in the interim, though, was that Trump came out and signed an executive order that said this is going to stop. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, they had all been yelling, well, he can stop this. He can stop this. So he's like, okay. So he writes this executive order and they're like, you can't do that. There's law on the books. And it's like, I know, we kept telling you, you guys have to change this. This is up to you. And they never brought into the discussion is the point of separating these people is to keep the children safe. They're not always with their real parents. You want children just mixed in with a bunch of people that we have no idea who they are or what the hell they're going to do to these kids. And I'm sorry, but there's a bunch of if these people are seeking asylum, they have consulates set up specifically to do this throughout Mexico. Right. That's where you should go. And so I'm reading a story in the Huffington Post today that is so absurd because they don't want to let this die, right?
Right.
The title, separated parents are failing asylum screenings because they're so heartbroken. Oh my God. Like, give me a break. I think I'm sorry. I feel bad for these people if they're genuinely this upset, but I have to wonder how much of this is just theatrics.
Of course.
And they've been so disingenuous about this, that photo of the little girl screaming and crying. And then we find out that she's not even separated from her mother. And they started this, I don't know, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I don't know if you remember that. But they started putting out the kids in the cages picture.
Yeah.
And then they were told, that happened under Obama.
That doesn't matter.
And it quietly went away for a little bit, and they regrouped. They had just decided this was going to be their case. This was going to be what they were going to push. And I think it's an incredibly naive idea. I think it's going to crush them in the fall.
Well, because again, you go from that where a lot of Americans are like, oh, well, I don't like it, not being presented with the full story. Mm-hmm. The mainstream media is just throwing out there, well, kids are being separated from their parents. Mm-hmm. So a lot of Americans, a majority of Americans, I'm sure, look at that and think, oh, that's terrible. That shouldn't be happening.
Yes.
And then they take that and then go a million miles up the road and say, well, not only should that not be happening anymore, we should eliminate ICE.
Yes.
Well, wait a minute.
And how does that play out? Is it just that this is what I don't understand. We eliminate them and then what? It's just a free for all? Because that seems to be what their end game is. Just don't enforce any kind of a border whatsoever.
It seems that way. And by the way, Republicans on Capitol Hill are fine with that too.
Of course they are.
They love that cheap labor.
Yes. it's grotesque. And it's just like, look, they've been consistently on the left complaining about wage stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the point now where we have what economists would call full employment. We're under 4%.
Right.
So what is going to happen is that wages are going to rise, because basically everybody that wants a job can get a job. So if you want to attract good employees, you're going to have to raise your wages.
Full employment sounds dangerously close to economic dignity.
Oh, we can't have that. But I'm sure that I'm not to put words in her mouth, but I'm guessing.
It's just a joke. I know
that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would have something different to say about that.
I understand.
No, it's just you're letting people get exploited even
right.
more.
Which is why we need to take the rich people's money who are exploiting the poor.
Right. And they're forcing the poor to work for them.
Right.
No, it's grotesque.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt with my smart-ass comment.
No, I just think it's amusing. But this is a point that I don't see anybody making on the right. It's just saying, hey, look, the way that the economy is going really well now. I saw a report that we might hit over 4% growth in the second quarter. And I can see it, through my position now and where I work, that things are going crazy. All of our customers' businesses are blowing up. I don't know if you're experiencing that where you are.
Yes.
So wages will go up if you keep the labor force at the same size it is right now. But importing a whole bunch of people is not going to help that.
So are you against all immigration?
No, not at all. But I don't like this idea that we're just going to open the floodgates.
Yeah.
And they'll be making the argument on the left in the opposite direction. Well, we have full employment, so we need to import new workers. No. If you want us to all have a higher standard of living and perhaps some dignity, you don't do that.
I just don't like them not signing the guest book on the way in.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm just going to hop over the border and live in the shadows. And
yeah, you should. Good luck doing that in Mexico.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so she's the new darling on the left.
Yeah, and good for her. I do think that
she's kind of cute too.
Yeah, I thought it was Rosario Dawson at first, who you probably don't know because you don't watch TV or movies. But she's
she on the Kardashian show?
No, but she's an outspoken lefty actress.
Ah.
I'm trying to think if there's any movie that I can think of that you might have seen that she was in, but that's a no.
No, probably not.
No.
I watch things about stuff.
Right. No, but she'll be over in the Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders wing, which is great. Let them go hard left and watch. That party has been in disarray, and you and I have been talking about this since 2015, 2016.
That's their bench. You either you have Bernie Sanders, and there's still people that they're hoping that he's going to run in 2020.
Well, he better change his affiliation quickly.
Oh yeah, well you know how that is. That goes. It's no big deal. Change it overnight.
Well, I think the DNC has put rules into place that won't allow that.
Oh.
But I got to dig into that a little bit more.
But he's what? 87? Is he 89 now? They're hoping that Joe Biden may run. I'm talking about the DNC. I'm not talking about the base. Their bench is either people who are 3 years short of 100. Yes, the cast of Cocoon. Or they're hoping to elevate people that have been on the national political stage for about a cup of coffee.
Right. Well, and the sad part is with Alexandria, she won't be old enough in 2020 to run.
Right.
It'd be 35.
Well, we should change the Constitution.
Oh, clearly.
So she can run.
Why not?
Wow. It's really going to be a shame for all of these, progressive women out there who wanted to see the glass ceiling finally broken, that to have it be broken by Nikki Haley. Really be a shame.
It will be.
Well, good for her. I hope she gets her beach house soon.
Me too.
Well, we've been at it for an hour. We only talked about a couple of things. You want one more story before we take off?
We could.
Okay, what do you want to talk about? It's your world.
Oh, yeah, this morning I was watching MSNBC.
Mm-hmm.
My regularly scheduled cartoons don't air on the weekends, but there are other cartoons.
Oh,
So
wait.
I find interesting.
Is the Joy Reid show still on?
Yes, it's on. I have it on right now in the background.
Oh.
She's interviewing Maxine Waters.
Of course.
And I think, and this is going to be considered rude, but I do believe both of them got their wigs at the same place. It's true, and I wish I could hear Maxine, because I'm sure she's imparting incredible wisdom right now.
Well, that's what DVRs are for.
Yeah, I also have Rewind. But so I was watching Alex Witt's show this morning.
Okay.
And she's breathlessly reporting on some new study that came out about hate crimes on the rise in 2017 and 2016.
Oh, and of course, this is all tied to Trump's rhetoric, I take it?
A lot of it. Actually,
yeah.
They weren't presenting it as so much. That's what they were doing on air. But you know how I like to read the stuff that they're talking about?
Yeah.
So the FBI puts out something called the Uniform Crime Report.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've only reported up through 2016 hate crime stats, which I believe I read. This is something that George H.W. Bush put into effect. Hate crime reporting laws. So I do tend to look at this every once in a while because I find it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And but a group calling themselves, what is the name of this group? It's an academic research group.
Oh, I'm sure it's not a group of activists.
No, not activist professors. Ready? The Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism.
Okay.
Which is based at California State University, San Bernardino.
Of course it is.
Right. So this is from a CBS News story. Published FBI data currently covers hate crimes only up to 2016, when totals increased across the nation for the second year in a row. Our team of academic researchers specialize in analyzing and forecasting
what
hate crime trends. Yes, they are the meteorologists of hate crime.
The Nostradamuses?
Yes, Nostradamus. So we've collected new police data from 2017 ahead of the FBI totals and performed the first analysis of that year's hate crimes with a particular emphasis on the 10 largest cities, blah, 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 blah. So they're saying that it's going up in these 10 cities. So I read their little report, or it's 51 pages. So I skimmed it. But they're saying that there was a spike following the election. So November of 2016, things went off the rails.
Of course. All those white supremacists out there felt like they were in the clear because their man is in the White House.
Of course. And keep that in mind because I want to go to the actual stats in a second. But this is from the first page of the report, I believe, after they get through all their little BS. Along with the unusual variables possibly impacting intergroup relations, such as demographic changes, underlying communal stressors, and catalytic events, was another previously unknown one that recently emerged. Do you have a guess of what that is, Fingers?
Go ahead.
Russian operatives engaged in orchestrated manipulation of social media, which they ramped up in late 2016, the majority of which revolved around dividing the nation along racial lines.
Man, I'm telling you, Putin must be sitting back with his feet up on the desk laughing his ass off.
Oh, I'm laughing my ass off. I think that this whole thing, if they have some like Russian Daily Show, I think this is just one big long prank that they've been running on us. So they continue breathlessly. The ramp up of Russian web activity during the election cycle coincided with a dramatic spike in hate crimes nationally, which corresponded with the worst fourth quarter in 8 years and the worst November ever.
Wow.
Oh my God. And they have some of the Facebook ads in here. It's just like, really? Really, people went out and did stuff because of this silly little ad. But they also talked about somewhere in here, they have a little note about the hate crime hoaxes.
Uh-huh.
Because you remember how there was a dramatic increase in those?
Yes.
And that I was surprised they even mentioned it.
I'm surprised they mentioned it too.
And I'm like, well, don't you think that we need a little bit more of scrutiny on these things?
Are they able to forecast future hate crime hoaxes?
Yes. Hate crimes will see a rise in sea level of 2 to 3 inches over the next decade. But,
wow.
Yeah. So get the victims of these hate crimes. African Americans, Jews, and gays constituted the 2 top positions in these 10 states. In the 10 cities, excuse me.
Cities? Okay, I was going to say. Oh, yep.
So, and this is when they're getting into 2017. So New York City, anti-Jewish hate crimes, by and large, outstrip everything with 150 incidences reported so far in 2017.
Unreal.
Right? But this is somehow related to Russia and Trump. I don't understand it at all.
Well, of course you don't. Because, first of all, you're reading whatever, how much of this is really real.
That's the thing.
But then if you turn on MSNBC, that's the spin. Mm-hmm. They take a report by people who I'm assuming are activists, and they make the leap. Well, it's because of Trump and his rhetoric.
Yes.
But not Russia. Jesus Christ.
I know. They didn't even get to that, which tells me that they didn't read the actual report at all, which is not surprising.
Wow.
But it is mentioned in the CBS article. So, but it's near the bottom, so they probably didn't get that far.
Yeah. Listen, you only have time to read headlines.
I know.
That's all you have time for.
So they are
articles.
They are forecasting a small to moderate increase for hate crimes in 2017. But they have all these charts, and a lot of this is brought to you by our good friends at the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh, of course.
And they're extrapolated from anonymous tip lines and such. So people calling the SPLC, I guess, and reporting bias incidents, which is totally scientific.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And hate crimes have been dropping off. There was a decline, they say, of 19.7% from the years 2007 to 2016.
Well, I did read that. I read some of the statistics that were in that report, and one claimed that I believe that were hate crimes against the LGBTQ community in Portland.
Yes.
That was the number one group that was targeted for hate crimes. It's like, in Portland?
Right.
Progressive Paradise, Portland? Gays are getting attacked? Really? This is a thing?
Well, and you have to look at who the perpetrators are, which they don't talk about at all in this.
Right.
So before I jump over to that, here's their little piece about the hoaxes. So conversely, our center has found a very small number of approximately 24 confirmed or suspected instances of false reporting, and they put the word hoaxes in quotations. In the last couple of years, amidst thousands of reports of police hate crimes.
So that's the other thing too. So you're trying to pin a lot of this on Russia in the report, and you're also trying to downplay hoaxes.
Of course. And they don't have hoaxes that there was a hoax in Philadelphia that they don't have on this list. Mm-hmm. And I remember it specifically because I got into it with a lefty who told me he doesn't have a gender identity. And I'm sorry that I just gender identified him by using the him and he. And he said he feared for his life after the election And I said, why? Well, there were swastikas painted on this car downtown. And I was like, okay. Well, it turns out that it was painted by a black guy on his ex-girlfriend's car because he was pissed at her and wanted to scare her. And I sent him the article about it. I said, I guarantee you that was done by a anti-Trump person. And he's like, no way. There's no way. No, they want to kill us all. Okay, dude. So I sent him the article.
Crickets.
I didn't hear back.
Of course.
No. But if we jump to the actual FBI statistics, let me pull those up. Here we go. These are the known offenders. So of the total known offenders, we've got 5,770 of them. 2,671 of them are white. So that's less than 50%.
Wow.
So this whole idea that there's all these, Trump
stormtroopers.
Right. They're slacking off. 1,500 of the perpetrators were black or African American. I don't really understand what the difference is. So, and then there's unknown race is 1,000. And then multiple or group or multiple races, 447.
Wow.
Yeah. But normally I look at these once a year, and it's the most targeted group in America, according to these statistics, is the Jews.
Jews, yeah.
Yep.
In 2018, we're still looking at that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. But oh my God, it's the Russians. It's just
Crazy.
It's never gonna stop.
No. With that, we have to stop though, because I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts?
No.
Remember, you can always catch the Enough Already podcast on Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn, iTunes, YouTube, and what was it, Fitbit?
Yeah, BitChute.
BitChute. All right, that's it. We'll be back next week. I'm Fingers, she's Tracy. This is Enough Already.